Cool, so we've made it to the fun section of the course. We're going to be doing nothing but making apps from here on out. It's going to be set up a little different and we're going to learn different things along the way. So this first video is the initial setup of our to-do app. So let's do File, New Project, and you could see, actually let me go back here for a sec. You could either do tabbed application or single view application, but I'm going to show you how to segue using toolbars. So I'm going to name it To-Do App. I'm going to do create. Don't worry about that. Just replacing the other one that I had. And I'm going to go to my main storyboard and resize. And I'm actually going to drag in another view controller, resize that. And let's go ahead and do a navigation bar. Get it nice and centered in there. Drag and drop one on the other side. Change this to add item. And this one to do. Now, we're going to do bar button item. And I'm going to change it to add. And do one more. Change it to done. And this is going to be show and show. So now, let's do a table view. We're going to drag and drop on our first view controller. Resize it to the full thing. And now I'm going to control drag to that yellow and do delegate and data source. Awesome. So now let's add in a text field. Let's actually do two. And we're going to do one for date and the other for item. Make this a little smaller for the date. And now do a label. And we're going to say, what did we need to do? Question mark. Resize it. And one more. I'm going to say, when did we need to do it? Cool. And let's resize. And of course we need our button. I'm just going to change the button to submit. Awesome. So now in this first section, I'm going to make a dictionary instead of arrays, but we'll actually change that in the second video. But first we need to make a new view controller. So you're going to go to the left there and right click, and we're going to do new controller. Make sure it's a source, Cocoa Touch class, view controller. Make sure your subclass is UI view controller, and we're going to do create. Cool, so now we have two view controllers in here. And open the assistant editor, and we're going to click in these four boxes, recent files, main storyboard. And let's go ahead and drag. Oh, guess what? Gotta add the class. Scroll down, view controller 2. Now let's control click drag. And I'm just gonna say to do in. Control click drag. Make sure you don't add it to the same one, and I'm gonna call it date in. Awesome. Kind of make it a little pretty. And let's drag in our submit, change it to an action. Let's just call it submit. Now, this is called a global variable. If we were to put it inside the class, it'll only pertain to just this class. So we're actually going to put it on the outside and say var to do dic for dictionary, space equals, square brackets, string, and our colon, string. And don't forget our parentheses. So now we have our dictionary set up, and we could add our values to it. So do you guys remember how to do that? If not, that's okay, because we haven't particularly learned this. So we're going to do dictionary, we're going to do a square bracket, and then we're going to, do date in space equals, which is going to be our key, and to do in, which is our object. So now we have an error, and as you can see, we have it passing in something that it doesn't know. So we need to do .text and .text. Perfect. So let's run this. Actually, let's do a print line so we get tested. For TO, doesn't matter what you name it there, in to do dictionary, we're going to print TO. So it's going to print each of those items. Play. Ooh, looks like we have an error, which usually has to do with our connections. So I'm going to come over here and click on this, our connections. I'm going to close that, touch up inside, submit. And actually, since we haven't set up our table yet, I'm going to delete delegate and data source, and I'll tell you why later. So if we run it, we could do add and some gibberish, some more gibberish. So we're going to do tribes, FGHY. Cool. And do another one. So now we have 2. Awesome. Tribes them in. Submit it. All 3. Working good. So I'm going to stop it. Move this out of the way. And go back to my files instead of the debug. And I'm going to show you guys why we had that error. So if we go over to the view controller Swift, we actually need to include 2 functions in our table view. So first let's add in a photo type cell. And just to show you that you can make custom cells, you could drag and drop the label in. And this only really works if you want to do static cells, not dynamic. So I'm just going to change the style to right detail, so we could have our date and then what we need to do. And I'm going to delete the top one. Cool. So here we go. Just kind of give us an idea of what it looks like. Cruise back on over here. And now I'm going to show you the 2 functions that we need in order to make our table work. So function table view, and I actually have 2 A's in there, but I'll come back to it. Table view, colon, UI table view, comma, number of rows in section, and make sure that each of those are capped. And then I'm going to do space section, colon, int. Now we need to remember the function where we return something, so let's return with the arrow and do int, and now we add our curly brackets. And we're going to return our to dictionary dot count. Cool. So now it'll return as many rows as there are items in the dictionary. So now we're going to do function, which is the second one we need. Table view, parentheses, table view, colon. We're going to do UI table view, comma, cell for row at index, path, space index path, colon, ns index path, and parenthesis. And now we're going to pass in a UI table view cell, or return it with our arrow. And we actually need to add another thing up here. You're going to do UI table view delegate. Let's see if I can find it. Cool. So now that we have that, we could do return cell. And I actually need to make a cell first. I don't know what I'm thinking, as you can see the error. identifier cell, doesn't know what it is. So we're going to do let cell equal UI table view cell. And then we're going to do parentheses, style, and in here I would like to do UI table view cell style dot default, and reuse identifier is just cell. Make sure it's in quotations. And actually I don't want default. I'm going to do value 1, which gives me the option to have 2 labels going out. So let's do let date equal array to do dict dot keys. And this is going to put our date into an array for us. This makes it a little easier for the table view to read. So I'm going to do to do item space equals array and to do dictionary dot values. Cool. So now let's go ahead and change those. So we're going to do cell dot text label question mark, and this is to check to see if the cell has a label, and we're going to do dot text space equals, and we're going to do our date index path dot row. So this is saying that the number of row is going to equal the number of our array. So let's do cell dot detailed text label question mark dot text space equals to do item index path dot row. And let's run it, see if we have everything working. Cool. Looks like it's showing up without an error. Actually, you know what? Now we need to add in our data source and delegate, which I guess I already have. And let's add, and I'm going to do dance. And you can see that I don't have my keyboard, and this actually happened when we were doing our last app. And it's actually really easy to fix, but first let me do 11, 26, 15, submit, and I'm going to do done, and now you can see that we have both of those. So now in order to fix the keyboard, you just click on the iOS simulator in the bottom on your taskbar, and then you're going to go up to device and then reset device, and it's that simple. But anyway, the first section's down, and I'll see you next video.